Disney bought Fox's stuff in 2019 for $71.9 billion. Included in that acquisition was the right to make a Deadpool movie. Deadpool and Wolverine is the very first crossover that Disney have made following this. I don't follow these films closely, okay? There was a lot that didn't make sense to me. So here is a layman's review of this is what's happened in Deadpool and Wolverine, and a review.
I can see if I can input at any point.
That would be brilliant. So just to get a little context set up, Deadpool and Wolverine's plot takes place in the absurdly complicated cinematic universe situation. They are crossing over ownership, timelines, universes, etc. And the truth is, it seems like the 6 writers of this movie also didn't give a shit about canonical integrity, which is fine. But like them, instead of trying to navigate our way through this 4-dimensional clusterfuck of a storm that led up to this film, here are just the facts that you need to know for this movie to make sense. Disney purchased Fox's digital assets, which basically means they're allowed to use their characters in the Disney's Marvel universe. You can forget all about the Avengers stuff. It really doesn't matter. That's already happened prior to the events of this movie. If you've not watched the first 2, Deadpool is an anti-hero with regeneration. A lot of the stories around him will often kind of play with where that limit is, but for all intents and purposes, the guy can be basically blown to pieces and will just always come back.
Yeah, he's going to be all right.
And then also within the Marvel world, even if you did kill him, you just pop to another timeline, but whatever. Wolverine also has regeneration. Again, I'm confident that they have done content on a regeneration off, although I don't know who comes off better. They both are just very regeneratable. He also has claws, and his skeleton and claws are made of an unbreakable metal called adamantium. Is there anything that you think they might need to know in addition to that very quickly?
So I believe just little, not gripes, but in case anyone is interested, if you do chop off Deadpool's head, I think he's done.
Really?
Yes.
I am interested. Right, I didn't know that.
Whereas, you can't do that with Logan. Adamantium skeleton makes it very difficult.
This is kind of the problem with the film, right? Because when he digs up his body, he just kind of... I'll get to it, but it doesn't make adamantium look very strong. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Was there anything else at all?
No, go on. Carry on.
Okay, cool. So we start the film. We start a little way into the story for our hook, so it's not at the very, very beginning. Deadpool is hoping to find Wolverine alive in a grave because he is convinced that Wolverine is going to save his universe somehow, and obviously Wolverine can't die. Prior to this, here's some information that maybe I should have included a minute ago. Wolverine has died, okay? I know I just told you he has this infinite regeneration. There's a film called Logan. A lot of people really, really like it. He died at the end. So Wolverine is dead. Deadpool's trying to find him alive in his grave. That's the beginning of the film. A lot of the questions are, why is he doing this? Now, we go back to the actual start of the story. Deadpool is living as a civilian, his civilian self. He's selling secondhand cars. He's got a ridiculous toupee, a terrible outfit. He doesn't fit in. He feels shame. And for some reason, not clear to us just yet, he's given up on his superhero life. This means that the love of his life is not interested in him, giving him some character drive. During his birthday party, he is captured by the Time Variance Authority. These are basically exactly what they say on the tin. They are just an authority on messing around with time. Now, in Deadpool 2, he messed around with a bit of time, so these guys have arrested him. The TVA go through some exposition. They explain that there is this anchor being situation where basically a universe has a single being that if they die, then the universe slowly disintegrates. And Wolverine was that anchor being. The TVA then also tell him that your universe is splintering and dying. I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to speed this process up. I'm going to use this universe-destroying machine because I'm ambitious. Join us on this sacred timeline that they've introduced so that you can be safe. Deadpool says, fuck that, I'm going to go save my universe. And we find ourselves back at the Hook digging up Wolverine. He wants to find him alive, I guess, in the hope that he never died. I don't really understand, but that's kind of that's how we find ourselves back at the Hook.
Yeah, and I do have a bit to add here, actually, because it reminds me of what you said at the start. So Yep, timelines do not make sense. Like in reality, the Logan, the film where Wolverine dies, is set in a bit of a distant future.
2029.
Yeah, so in Deadpool's world, he wouldn't be dead at this point anyway. So the thing is though, no one cares because the X-Men timeline has been so fucked for so long. They made so many mistakes with X-Men that everyone's just like, whatever. Like, how could you possibly keep up? Because they just change they just move the goalposts every time. So that's just one thing that I think everyone just kind of accepts that the timelines are all over the place, and then they say, well, it's all right because we jump back and forth in time all the time. But yeah, I just wanted to just say, in case you're confused, so are we, but I think you just got to accept it.
Don't worry about the timeline.
The writers don't.
The writers certainly don't. Deadpool then, he's digging up Wolverine. The TVA turn up and he brutally murders 50 people to a credit sequence, which is okay. Adamantium was supposed to be unbreakable, and he just smashes it to smithereens and uses it as weapons, like with zero effort. I guess they might have come up with an explanation.
You mentioned 6 writers as well. I think that this was written in the writers' strike. So okay. maybe we can just give them the benefit of the doubt as some. Maybe Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, no one wrote this film. I mean, ChatGPT could have done a better job. So he kills a bunch of TVA people because he's found out that Wolverine is dead. He hops multiverses and finds different options of Wolverines because he's going to bring them back and reintroduce him to his universe so that he now has an anchor being and his universe is saved. He eventually lands after cameos and what actually was quite a funny little reference about comic book accurate Wolverine. Although maybe just funny because it's one of the only things that I understood. He then hops multiverses and he finds this Wolverine eventually who visually represents our Wolverine, but he is very beaten up in this universe because as a result of his action/inaction, a load of people died and he's very sad about it and he drinks alcohol. Deadpool brings this Wolverine back. He goes, look, I've got a Wolverine, don't worry about it. And the TVA, he really upsets them, and the TVA send them into the void. Okay, so this is a world which the TVA can send people into. Time doesn't really matter. It's a kind of a desolate, timeless landscape. For me, that's kind of where I think I would draw the end of the first act. That's kind of setting up the problem. It will kind of setting up the status quo in the universe and kind of getting us going. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. That's a pretty good marker. A couple of points then on some of the stuff that we've gone through. The comic book accurate section. So we get all the cameos of different Wolverines, which is quite fun. Classic bloody multiverse of madness. Let's chuck loads of stuff in there. You're gonna have an all right time if you're interested in the comics. Which I'm not going to pretend I am, but I have looked at the references. They're all comic book accurate, so they're all from different variations of Wolverine through the years. And then the one that they specifically reference, say, comic book accurate Short King Wolverine, where he's 5'3", is obviously kind of funny to watch as well.
Because Wolverine is supposed to be not huge, jacked man, but actually very, very short, and that's kind of quite an important part of his character.
That's why he's called Wolverine, because Wolverines themselves are obviously short and scrappy.
Yes.
Part of the big issue when Hugh Jackman was originally cast was that, hey, this guy's 6'2". Like, Wolverine is, like, one of his defining characteristics is he's short.
Yes.
And they're like, everyone who's just grown up with this has forgotten it, but at the time people are like, what? Why have we cast this massive man?
And I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Okay, so now we move on to the second act. Oh,
Here
God,
we
the
go.
second act.
Here we go, baby.
We meet in the void Cassandra Nova. So this is Charles Xavier's sister. She is this ultra-powerful matriarch of the void. She explains that she knows how to get out of the void. She's incredibly powerful. Let me make sure that's clear. She knows how to get out of the void. She wants to kill them. They escape being murdered by her. Now, slight more review than explain. I thought she was unbearable to watch. She was so unintimidating, so smithy. So I just couldn't stand her. I hated her, and not in a good way, not in a Joffrey way. In a like, you're just butchering this so badly for me.
Yeah, she was a bit miscast and just an interesting choice because okay, so the void itself is a metaphor again, which a lot of bloody metaphors going on here, but a lot of the people who've been chucked into the void were formerly famous characters from the Fox universe. So you have, you happy for me to rattle off some references here, some cameos. So we had Johnny Storms from the Fantastic Four, played by Chris Evans. We had Toad and Sabretooth from the original X-Men, which is pretty wild to see. We also had Pyro, who's from the original X-Men as well. So they got some love. They came in, and then obviously we go out to the actual Cassandra Nova den where she's ridden and she's hid.
The base.
Yeah, the base. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I said den. So that's where our protagonists are ended up sent out to. And again, we've got a selection of things. You know, people like Juggernaut there, not played by Vinnie Jones, unfortunately. And really, at this point, the whole idea of the Void is that, okay, all of the Fox characters that we are no longer, or they're no longer able to use, are in this Void. That's the idea. And we'll have some more later, don't you worry. But Cassandra Nova was born in the Void, or she was similar to one of the other characters who'll turn up later, where clearly they are referencing the fact that this is a comic book character who has not been used, or they chose not to use. And so I can understand that, because they've got to get a really overpowered character to do this, but yeah, she just didn't do it. She just didn't do it for me at all.
Like every threat within this thing, she just kind of felt convenient, and also and just also in this particular case, a terrible character and a terrible performance. I'm sorry, I know people don't really like it but I just fucking hate it.
She was bad.
Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine go looking for a rebellion. There's a rebellion within the Void against Cassandra. They find them. They happen to be a bunch of fan service cameos. Fred's just mentioned how that works. There's 5 of them. They basically, through a little bit of character background exposition, a little bit of sort of just nattering and showing Hugh Jackman drinking from a bottle again, they then decide to go and launch an attack on Cassandra's base with a very specific plan about how they're going to make her vulnerable, and then basically make her let them out, I guess.
Yeah.
So they succeed. They attack the base. They get her vulnerable, and then a bloke from the TVA turns up. Now the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, who we met earlier, have some sort of deal with Cassandra Nova, where they kind of leave her to her own devices in the Void, like a big sand pit for her. She's happy because she gets to just use her massive powers as freely and willingly as she wants, and they leave each other alone. Now, this guy from the TVA turns up while she is vulnerable, shoots her multiple times in the stomach or chest or wherever. And Deadpool and Wolverine are left in this position where they could save her life, but in doing so, they risk her just basically tearing them to shreds and killing her. They make the decision to take this vulnerability off of her. She heals herself, decides not to kill them, but to let them out of the Void. And just like every other stake rising moment, a cloud comes to attack them approximately at the right time, just so that their jump through the portal feels a little more earned, I guess. I didn't like this plot. So they escape completely unscathed. And we move on to our third act. Anything about the Void?
Slight correction. The person who shoots her is not from the TVA, but is in fact Pyro, so one of the old X-Men. And he was just working with the TVA. Like he is a character. So he's
kind of with the TVA.
Yeah, they I think reached out to him so that he could kill her, but she was working with them.
Okay.
And then just Void characters that Jamie mentioned. So you had Blade came back, Wesley Snipes, that's pretty massive. You had Jennifer Garner came back as bloody hell Elektra, and you also had Channing Tatum playing Gambit. He didn't play Gambit in the when it was actually cast before, but he was someone who was cast as Gambit, and they were gonna make films about him. They were gonna bring him out. It's just never materialized, and so he keeps referencing the fact that I feel like I was born here.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You're my
bit of fun.
accent correspondent.
Yeah, with that accent, I guess he gets away with it because it's so purposefully bad. Maybe
I don't know.
I think he's trying to go with like a French.
Well, the character's name looks French, so I kind of figured by the end maybe that was what he was trying to do.
He definitely hit some Jamaican in there. Like, and I'm not just saying that as like an arbitrary accent I picked out, like 100%. He did some patois in there.
It was ridiculous. And Deadpool did what Deadpool does throughout the whole movie, which they just think they get away with it because they acknowledge
Deadpool
it.
references
They
it,
just go like, "Oh, you're ruining some exposition here because you're really hard to understand," and then suddenly that's supposed to be okay.
They make that joke 4 times.
Oh, so anyway, sorry, no, I'm not going to linger. So we move on to the third act, right? We've escaped from the void. I think we still have a plan to save the universe or somehow, but it doesn't matter because Cassandra, because she's been betrayed, basically decides that her plan is to use this universe destroying machine to destroy every single one of the infinite universes, 15 minutes at a time, and then the void will be all that's left. That's her plan. That's what she's thinking. What the fuck? What is that?
What are we doing here?
What is that? What a terrible, what a massive, brutal pivot that makes no sense at all, that completely derails anything that might be relevant from the first 2 acts into the final act. And now that's all that matters. And it's like, that's come from 5 minutes ago. But don't worry, because just to make sure, if you weren't confused before, you will be when 100 Deadpools turn up for literally no fucking reason.
Yeah, they reference that there's loads of Deadpools in the void. But I don't know why. I don't know why there are loads of Deadpools
why are they turning up and why are they fighting him?
And they're
why,
all on Cassandra's
why are we
team.
doing this?
And then like, oh, we get the set piece where we get to fight all the Deadpools, and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are going to go. And you know what? It is cool they did comic book accurate Hugh Jackman's Wolverine's costume. That was cool.
I like that.
I like that. But then the fight itself was very much like, here we go.
It was,
Same
once
as the
again,
others.
completely pointless, right? It just made no sense, okay? And, well, that's it. It was pointless. There's a bunch of other stuff, but that's it. Don't do it.
What was your favourite fight in this?
Probably the first time I saw Wolverine and Deadpool fight, because it was very clearly set up and it was kind of fun to see, and then I got tired after that.
Yeah, I struggled with that one because he literally said, "You're going to really enjoy this fight."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Fuck you, no, I'm not."
Yeah, I know.
But I quite like the car fight.
I think I prefer the car fight. Here's the thing with the fighting, right? Okay. It clearly doesn't work stabbing and punching each other. So why are they not trying anything else, like a bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu or, like some way of pinning them down or imprisoning them, or like, why are we still shooting and punching here? It's not working.
Yeah, it was so like tired. Like we did it the first time, then we were like, all right, we're doing it again, basically just because we want a bit of a biff. And the way we'll show this was intense is that we'll show it went on for a full day with a sun going down and coming back up, transition. Yeah. And then we'll do it with the Deadpools, and they've all got regenerative capabilities and whatever.
I think that really that specific, this is relevant to a much broader problem with these movies, which is that nobody can die. You just cannot die.
That
and
is
this
so
movie is
true. That's such an issue. Like such an issue with just these. But it's been the issue with the comics as well. Like,
they killed Logan in this like heartbreaking movie that just tore people to shreds. It was so painful for everyone.
It's so important they don't bring him back after that. Like it's so important. Otherwise, it completely devalues it. It's the same. You don't see how Robert Downey Jr. is coming back.
Yes,
but as a different character, which okay. But like.
Fine.
Yeah, at this point, it was special because it was finite,
Yes, I 100% agree. So not only can they infinitely regenerate and not die, but when you eventually figure out how to make them die, you just go into one of the infinite universes that Cassandra Nova is attempting to systematically work through one at a time, which I don't think she realizes quite how long that's going to take.
And then we'll get onto it. I know you're going to get onto it, but then like you may as well have just like vomited on the page for the rest of what's going to happen. It's literally a case of we're going to hold hands and there's going to be antimatter and then we're going to have a tug of war.
That's pretty much exactly what I've written.
I mean, you can explain it a bit more detailed if you want, but genuinely, like, we're in this setup and then it's just the biggest arbitrary ending. Let's have some glowing lights and let's have Wolverine and Deadpool hold hands
work together
and use their... Oh, and if one of you does this because it's antimatter... Like, I'll explain because I'll just go off on a tangent with how much I'm disliking this. But Casanova finds the Doomsday device, starts plugging into it with her telekinetic powers in order to break the whole multiverse. And then the only way to stop it is if someone goes in and kind of breaks a circuit, makes a circuit to break the circuit and takes the matter and the antimatter. But even for someone with healing powers, this would completely tear them asunder. So instead, they both do it at the same time because Deadpool can't reach, and then they hold hands, and then obviously it's fine because if you've got both of them together, they can't die because of the power of friendship. And then that's the end. And you're literally like, I know exactly what's going to happen here. Like, do we need to do it? Do we need to?
Yeah.
Do I need to watch this?
Yeah. I know how this is going to end.
Yeah, I know how it's going to start. I know what the middle's going to be.
There is one thing that they haven't concluded yet, which is obviously Wolverine's main driving thing is how hurt he is about the universe that he's left behind.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the main things that drives him is, I might be able to undo what I did.
Which Deadpool lied about.
Which, fine, I guess. It's not the end of the world. So they get to the end, the TVA turns up, and Deadpool says, okay, can we give Wolverine his universe back that he's wanted so badly? And they basically just go, no. And then Wolverine just goes, okay.
Yeah, let's get a beer.
I could eat, is actually what he says.
Also, I didn't... And
so he just stops caring about, like, one of the few problems that they actually spent some time setting up. How does it conclude? He just kind of forgets about it.
Yeah,
he just doesn't care.
Because he saved this universe. And also, what I wanted to say is I was not happy. That's it.
Oh, no. We've done another Furiosa.
I was not happy with his sob story, his backstory. Like, the fact that I know they didn't flashback it, which I kind of like. I thought we were going to get a flashback, which we didn't get. We just got him talking about it. But maybe I misunderstood here. But
no, you didn't.
By all accounts... He said, they were just they were having a jolly frolic in the sun, all of these superhumans, and then some humans came. And he literally says it like that, like, the humans came and then murdered them all.
And I wasn't there.
I wasn't about, so it's my fault. And now everyone in this universe hates me because the X-Men are dead because they wanted them dead because they're human. And also, how the fuck did the humans kill the fucking X-Men?
Like a group of X-Men in their fortress home
the reason
together.
It wasn't explained is because it's impossible to do. But obviously the humans, and he put so much emphasis on the word humans, like they're like the big bad because we really need to reflect on our own inadequacies. We are humans. He may as well have had Deadpool wink to the camera and go humans.
Oh my god.
But like the whole point of all these universes is that you need to save the humans because the humans are fucking useless.
The vulnerable, weak that you want to protect and look after from these evil forces, and
at least make up some otherworldly thing that came down. And also, by the way, even if he was there, if fucking Charles Xavier isn't stopping these guys, Wolverine's doing fucking
Mr.
Naples.
Fingernails ain't doing shit.
Wolverine is doing jack shit, boy. You can fucking do one, mate.
Yeah, I tell you what, look, if you've made it this far through and you enjoyed this, check out our video on Furiosa. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.